Hey there! Welcome to this video where we are going to talk about inter-service communication amongst microservices, and we are going to talk about how we can do the same with the help of RestTemplate. Now, if you're not aware or if you're watching my video for the first time, then this particular video is a part of a series whose link you'll find in the description. So if you're watching this video and if you want to get some better context into the source code that we are using, then be sure to check out the description for the link. Now, talking about what we are going to cover in this particular session. So we are going to talk about what inter-service communication is and why is it needed. And then we'll discuss how we can make use of RestTemplate for the same. We will also talk about DTO Pattern, which is one of the key players when it comes to efficient data exchange between services. And DTO stands for Data Transfer Object Pattern. So we'll talk about that and we'll also implement this into our source code. So this is going to be a complete hands-on session where we will be actually doing things in a hands-on way practically. Now, if you have been watching my videos and if you haven't liked or subscribed yet, I would highly recommend doing so. Because every subscriber or every subscription that I get on my channel motivates me to bring in more such amazing content for you all. The support and love that I get from my viewers impacts my ability to bring in more such amazing free content for you all. So I would highly recommend that you hit the subscribe button, like this particular video and turn on the bell notifications. Also, feel free to leave a comment to let me know what kind of videos I should bring for you all. Now, without a further ado, let's jump right into the session. Hey there, welcome back. So let us start talking about inter-service communication in the world of microservices. So microservices architecture, as you already know now, is an architectural style that structures the application as a collection of small loosely coupled services. So in microservices world, our application is looking something like this. So we have three services. We have company service, job service, and the review service. And these services are running as their own processes. They have their own memory and they might be even located on different servers. So ideally, microservices are deployed on separate servers and they also have their own database which they are interacting with. Now, what is happening is we have a client like a browser or a mobile app or any sort of client that can access our services. So user will be accessing our services from a particular client. Now the thing over here is user is not aware of the inner details of our services and we don't even want to expose this to them. So for a user or for anyone in the outside world, our application needs to function as a single unit. So outside world should not be aware or does not need to be aware of the inner details. Like a user won't care whether you have different microservices running on different systems or how your application is structured. What does a user care about? User cares that he's sending some request and he needs a corresponding expected response from you. So user is not aware of behind the scenes and user expects that your application functions as one single unit. Now, since these microservices are running on their own, they have their own separate processes and also they need to be projected as one single unit. There is a need for these services to communicate with each other so that they can function as a single unit and a cohesive system. Now, this is where inter-service communication comes into picture. So what is inter-service communication? In simple terms, it is a method through which microservices in an application talk to each other. And this communication between services can happen synchronously or asynchronously, and we can use protocols like HTTP or REST messaging. And we can use protocols like HTTP or REST or messaging. Now, why is this inter-service communication important? Like I mentioned, we need to function all the microservices need to function as a single unit. And in microservice architecture, each microservice has their own memory space and they run in separate processes. And for one service to talk to another, there will be a need to serialize the messages in a common format and to send them over the network. So this makes inter-service communication a fundamental part of any microservice architecture. Now, there are different ways to implement inter-service communication. And the number one way is synchronous communication, and then we have asynchronous communication. So synchronous communication mode uses synchronous request response mechanism where the client waits for a response from the server before proceeding. And this can be achieved through HTTP based protocols like REST or even SOAP. And in asynchronous communication, microservices can work asynchronously and they can communicate with the help of message queues or message brokers like RabbitMQ, Apache Kafka, or AWS Simple Queuing Service, which is SQS. Now, what happens in this case is the sending service publishes the message to a particular queue. So there is a queue that we will have in that particular system. And the sending service will publish the message to the queue and receiving service will consume the message when it's ready. So there is a possibility that whenever a message is being sent, the receiving service is not yet ready. So we take help of queue over there where the message is queued, and whenever the receiving service is ready, it consumes the message. You could even use synchronous communication, but this is much more synchronous. And we make use of protocol like HTTP or RPC based communication. So this choice depends on your specific requirements. So this is about microservices intercommunication, and I hope you all have a clarity as to why it's important and what it is. Hey there, welcome back. So let us start talking about what is REST template and why do we need it. So what is REST template? So REST template is a class in Spring framework that simplifies the HTTP communication between two microservices. Now you can use this for communicating between microservices, and it does so by abstracting the lower level details into a very high level, easy to use methods. So you can use this particular class to send HTTP requests to your RESTful web services and also consume the responses. So why do we need REST template with microservices? Of course, we'll be using it to interact between different microservices that we have. So let's say we have job microservice and a company microservice. So if these two microservices need to communicate or exchange any sort of data, then we can use REST template, and we will be making use of HTTP protocol using which we will send HTTP requests and we will even handle HTTP responses. So what are the advantages of using REST template? So let us talk about some features and advantages. So the number one feature or the advantage that we have is abstraction. So REST template abstracts the complexity of the HTTP communication, and it provides a simple method-based API for client-side HTTP access. Now this simplifies the code and reduces the chance for errors that might occur otherwise. The next benefit could be versatility. So REST template can handle HTTP methods like get, post, put, delete, and so on. The next benefit or feature could be conversion. So REST template can automatically convert the responses into desired data types. For instance, you can receive the response as string, JSON, or even XML, or even directly as a Java object. So this is one benefit. It reduces a lot of complexity and a lot of repeated stuff that you need to do. Error handling. So REST template also offers good error handling abilities, like it throws a specific exceptions for different HTTP status codes. Then we have integration. So REST template is a Spring library, and it is available in the form of a class, like you have to make use of a class, and it is well integrated into other Spring features. So this gives REST template an edge. And if you're working on a Spring application, using REST template will make things even smoother. So since Spring Boot is based on Spring, we can easily make use of REST template for our needs. So compared to other methods of inter-service communication, REST template stands out due to its simplicity, tight integration with Spring. However, it's worth noting that REST template is blocking, which means it waits for the server to respond before continuing with the execution. So what I mean over here is, so if you have two microservices, and if microservice 1 is sending some communication to microservice 2 with the help of REST template, so this communication that is being done will wait for the server to be available. Okay, so basically the other server on the receiving end should be responding immediately to this API request. So it's real time and it's not asynchronous. So it is synchronous or real time is what I can say over here. And this could be a disadvantage in scenarios where you need features such as non-blocking or asynchronous features are needed. Then in that case, this might not be helpful. So in that case, you need to go with some other alternative. But REST template is still a good choice to begin with microservice communication within different services that we have. So that's about a REST template and an overview as to how it works and what you need to keep in mind. Welcome back. So let us see REST template in action. So here I am on IntelliJ IDEA, and let me collapse everything. Okay. So I have 3 microservices. Now let us say I wish to communicate with the company microservice right from within the job microservice. So job microservice will be communicating with the company microservice, and we will be communicating with the help of REST template. And what are we communicating? So we will be doing an API call wherein we get a particular company from this particular microservice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to jobs microservice. I'll switch over to Java, and let us say we have this controller here. So within this controller, we are getting all the jobs from this particular GET request. Now I'll go to this particular GET request service implementation here. And here I'm going to make use of REST template. And using REST template, I'll get the company details as well. So what I will do is I'll say REST template. So you can see this drop down appear from org.spring framework. So I'll select this and you'll see the package being imported. So it's org.spring framework web client, and you have REST template class within this package. Now here, let me collapse this. So whenever we are making a call to get all the jobs, we will print the company ID of any one particular company ID. So we are just going to demonstrate how we can make use of REST template. So I'm going to say REST template here is equal to new. So we are creating an object of REST template here. Okay. Now we have the object. Now using this object, I'm going to make call to the company microservice. Okay. So I'm going to say REST template dot, and you can see different methods here. Okay. So I'll say get for. So I'll make use of get for object here. Okay. And I'll specify the URL over here. Okay. Now what is the URL? So I'll go to PostMan. I'll open the company microservice and I'll get this URL here. This one to get the company details. Okay. And I'll come over here and let me paste this URL here. So I'll try getting the company with ID 1. Now here, if you hover on this, okay, you will see you have this string. So the string is nothing but the URL that I'm passing. Now we need to have the class object. Okay, so I can say company here, company.class, like so. So here we have specified the company class. So what the second parameter does is it will wrap or it will convert the response that we are getting from this request here into a specific class. So since we are getting the company class object, we can map it to the company class. But the problem is we are within job microservice and we don't have the company class over here. So we will have to create the company class here. So what I can do is I can add a package over here. Okay, so I'll just collapse this, or I'll say new Java class. I'll say external dot company. So I'm specifying that I need this package, this class within this particular package. And this package, if it does not exist, it will create it. Okay, so I'll just press enter and you will see this package being created and also the company class. Now what I can do is I can go to company microservice here, and within the company microservice I'll copy this here and I'll come over here and I'll paste this. Okay, now there are a few things that we don't need, like we'll remove the package declaration. We don't need this Jakarta.persistence because we are not persisting this. We are just using this to keep a track of company. Okay, so I'll just remove all of this. All right, so we have the class ready. Now here I will import this class. Okay, so I'll import like so, and you can see the class has been imported. Okay, now we have kept the package name as external because these are all external classes. Okay, so we have done this. Now what will happen is whenever you are making a GET request, and this is a GET request that is in action to this URL, and the response that you get will be mapped to this particular class over here. Now what I can do is I can get the object. So I can say company like so. Okay, so we have the object that is being assigned to company, and now I can just simply print it on console for now. Okay, so this is not a good practice. Okay, but for the purpose of demonstration, I'm just printing it onto the console, and I'm not using any logging framework or anything like SL4J or anything. Okay, so I'm just demonstrating this. So we have get name, and I can even print the ID as well. So I'll say get ID like so. Okay, now I'll hit save and let us rerun this particular service here. So I'll go to services and I'll rerun the job microservice. So let me rerun this. So you have the microservice up and running without any issues. Let us head over to PostMan. Now let us try getting all the companies. So you have a couple of companies added here, and from the job microservice, if you try to get all the jobs, we were printing the company information. So I'll get all the jobs. Okay, you don't have any jobs, but let us check the console here. Okay, so here in the console you will see company 1 and company ID. So we are getting the name over here. Okay, and if you take a look at the name here, okay, so let me show you the name. So this is company 1. Okay, if I update this particular company name, so if I update to this, and if I try to get the name, you can see we have the company name of the company with ID 1 updated like this. Now if I try to do a GET request again, we don't have jobs yet, but if I scroll down, you can see again we have the company details printed, and this is because we are printing it with the help of the REST template. Okay, so this gives us the proof that we are able to communicate to company microservice from job microservice with the help of REST template. So as you can see, REST template was very useful in this particular scenario, and it helped us even map the response to a particular class. And we could just do this with the help of a simple method. So this is the benefit of using REST template. Like, it has abstracted a lot of details. Like, a lot of details are hidden from you, like making a call to this particular URL, then getting the response, reading the response over the HTTP protocol, then seeing the response and mapping it to every field within the company or any class that you specify. So this everything is being done by REST template under the hood, and it takes away a lot of hassle from developers like us. So that's REST template for you. Welcome back. So let us start talking about the DTO pattern. So DTO stands for Data Transfer Objects. So it is a pattern which is used to transfer data between software application subsystems. Okay. So in context of API, so if you have to talk about DTOs with respect to APIs, it can be useful to design the structure of the data that you want to expose over the API. All right. So what I mean by this is if you want to have some custom structure or the response structure, then you can make use of this pattern to implement in your microservices or any REST API, not only in the microservices, and you can play around with the structure this way. So this gives you a better control of the structure as to what users are seeing. Now with the help of DTOs, which is data transfer objects, you can retrieve the necessary data from microservices. So right now we are talking about microservices. So if you are implementing DTO, you can fetch the data from different microservices independently, and you can map them to the respective DTOs. So let me give you an example. So here I have a job microservice and company microservice. Now let us say to the response, okay, to the user, I wish to show the job object as well as the company object. So whenever a user calls a job API, I wish to even provide the company information along with that job. For example, if we are getting all the jobs from the job microservices, I wish to provide the company JSON as well along with every job instead of just ID. Okay. So this can be possible. Okay. You can give a custom response to the job microservice. But how? So you can add a data transfer object or DTO within this application. And what this DTO can have is it can have objects to both these classes, and then this can be converted into the response to the user. So this gives you a better control as to how you can manage what is being shown to the user. Now, without the help of DTO, this would have been a bit difficult, but DTO makes your life much more easy. So without a further ado, let's head over to our IDE and let's start implementing it. So here in Postman, if you query jobs, so I believe we don't have any jobs right now. So if I create a job and if I query job, you will see we get only the job information along with the company ID. So I don't want this ID, but instead I wish to show the entire company JSON, which depicts the company information who posted this job. So this is my requirement now. So we will be implementing this with the help of DTO. So let us head over to IntelliJ. So here we are going to implement this thing within find all, because find all is being called when you are calling a get request on /jobs. And this is the controller method which is responsible for returning all the jobs that exist in our application. So we are making call to jobservice.findAll. So this is where we are going to implement this. Now what is a DTO? So DTO is nothing but a class that you can create, and this is the class that represents what user sees. Okay, so I'm going to create a class over here. So I'm going to create a package first. So I'll say give me a, okay, so I'm creating this in company. We should not create this in company because the response we are getting is from the job. So I'm going to come over here under job. I'm going to say package, and I'm going to call this as DTO. So this is our DTO package, wherein we are going to have all the DTO classes, and I'm going to create a new class. So we can say job, so job here with company, and I'm going to add DTO in the end. Now let me get this created. Okay, so I have Git configured, so I see this pop up again and again. So I'll say don't ask again. Okay, it's asking me whether I should add this file to Git. So we have this DTO configured. Now what is the response that we want? So the response we want is of job. So I want job here, and I also want company. So this is what my response structure will look like. So my response should have job JSON as well as the company JSON. So I can say private job like so. Let me get this imported, and here I can say company. So I'll say private company, and I'll say company like so. Okay. So what we are doing is we are creating an object of job class and a object of company class, and this is what is going to be shown to the user. Now we need to add some getters and setters. So I'm going to get IntelliJ to auto generate these for us. So I'm going to say getters and setters. I'll select, and we have the getters and setters here. So we have the DTO object or DTO class set up. Now I'll head over to job service implementation class. Now here is where we need to do the magic. So here what we will be doing is we will be making a REST template call to the company object, and we will be doing this for every job object that we have, because we want to add the company object to every job object. Okay. So what I can do over here is, let us say we can I'll just take this. We can delete this in fact, but let me see if I can reuse this code. So first I'm going to say list, and I'm going to create the list of jobs over here. Okay. I'm going to call this as jobs, and here I'm going to say job repository dot find all. So what we are doing is, first we are getting the list of all the jobs with the help of the repository class that we have. Sorry, not the class, it's an interface, but this is what we are making use of. So now what I need to do is I need to create a list over here, and this list will be of the DTO. So I can say job with company DTO, and I'll say job with company DTOs, and this will be new, and I'll give this the type of array list like so. So this is an array list which represents this particular class. So it has list of this class objects. Okay. Now I'll make use of this REST template call. Okay. So we create an object of REST template here, and we add a for loop. So what we need to do is, why are we adding a for loop? So for every job object, or for every job that we have in this list, we need to get the company object, and every job object has a company ID. So what we need to do is, with the help of for loop, we need to iterate over the list of jobs. We need to fetch the company ID from the job, and we need to make this call to the company microservice, and we need to get the company object and add it to the DTO like so. Okay. So I'm going to say for each. So for each loop will be easier. I'll say job, and this will be of job type. Okay. Now here I'm going to say iterate through the jobs list, which is at the top. I have declared it, and here I'm going to start writing all the code. So the first line, what we are going to do is we are going to create. So I'm going to say, so we are going to create an object of this DTO class. So I'm going to say job with company DTO like so. And here I'm going to have new job with company DTO like so. So now since we have created the DTO object, we need to add the company object as well as the job object. Okay, we need to add this both to this DTO object, and then ultimately this DTO object is what will go into this list, and this is the list that we will be returning. Okay, so we need to even change the return type over here. So that is something that we'll do shortly. So I'm going to say over here job with company DTO. So this is the object here, dot set job, and I'll pass in the job object. So we have the job object, which is what we are iterating with. Okay. And here I'm going to now make a call to the company microservice like so. So I have the call also ready here. So I'm just going to press enter here. Okay. So these are the two parameters that I'm passing, but instead of one here, I need to make this as dynamic. So I'm going to remove one here and I'm going to concatenate here. So I'm going to say job dot get company ID. So we are calling the company object. So we are calling the company microservice and we are passing in the company ID to get the corresponding company object for the respective job here. Okay. So for every job, we are getting the company ID and we are telling company microservice, hey, give us the company with this ID. All right. And it's being auto mapped to this particular class over here, which is the company class, which is something that we have specified already. So this headache is taken care by RestTemplate, wherein it does the API call on the HTTP protocol, like using HTTP protocol, and the response that it gets, it is mapped to this company class. Now, what do we do with this company class? Yes, you guessed it right. We will set it to the DTO. So I'll say set company. So job is already set. Now, after getting the company, we set the company. So we have job set here, company set here. Now, what do we do with this object now? Yes, we need to add this particular object to the list which we have defined here. So I can say job with company DTOs. Okay, so I can make this as a bit small so that this looks a bit cleaner. So I'll say DTOs dot add and I'll say job with company DTO like so. Okay, so this is our source code so far. And what we need to do is we need to get rid of these system.out.println statements, which we use to understand how a REST API call works using RestTemplate. Okay, so we have removed that. And now we need to return something here. So we don't need to return now the list of all the jobs, but instead we need to return this object here, which we are creating with every iteration of for loop. Okay. Now, the moment you do this, you start getting all red marks because the return type you have specified is of job type. But now you are changing the return type to that of job with company DTO. So I'll change this to job with company DTO. Now, the moment you change this, okay, like you are overriding this from the service class. So let us head over to service. So this is the interface here, okay, and here we need to add this over here, okay. So I'll hit save. This error goes away. So our service class is now sorted. Now where the issue is or where the issue can come, the issue can come in the job controller. So in the job controller, we are returning the list of jobs over here, okay. So you need to change this to list of jobs with company DTO. Okay, so I just changed the return type here and all the red marks have gone now. All right, so now let us take a look at what we have done so far. So what we want to do as a requirement is we want to have a response structure for getting all the jobs, wherein we are just right now giving only job as the response. So we have the job object as the response. What if we want to add company object to every job? So in order to do that and in order to have better control on the response, we used DTO pattern, wherein we created a DTO class which has the representation of job and company. And from here, we are creating or we are getting all the jobs first from the database. We are creating a list that we are going to return, and this is a list of job with company DTO. We create an object of RestTemplate, and then with the help of this for loop, what we are doing is we are iterating through the every job object here. So we have jobs over here. So for every job object, we are getting the corresponding company, and within this for loop itself, we are constructing the list over here. So we are creating this object here, job with company DTO, And this object is something that we are adding in this particular list for every API call that we do. And ultimately, in the end, we are just returning this list that is being constructed. So this is the entire mechanism that we are using, and this is how it is going to work. So that's about this class. This is how you can make use of DTO patterns. So now, after implementing the DTO pattern into our microservice, it's time that we test the changes. So we have made changes only to the job microservice. So we just need to restart that service and not the other services. Okay, so the microservice was restarted without any issues. Now, if you head over to PostMan, and if I say, give me all the jobs, there are no jobs, of course. Do we have companies? Yes, we do. We have a couple of companies. Let us create a job. So I'll add one job and I'll add another job, let's say. So we have added a couple of jobs. Now let us try and get all the jobs. Now let us see what the response look like. So here you can see like you have the entire company JSON as well as the job JSON. So this is the job object, and here you have the company object. Okay, and this is being shown to the users as an output. Okay, so it's clearly working. What we can even do is we can simplify this method over here. So with the help of this for loop, we are converting the job object and the company object into DTO. Okay, so what I can do is I can move this entire thing into its own method. Okay, so I can say private job with company DTO, and I can say convert to DTO like so. Okay, and here I can have the opening and curly braces like so, and here within this particular method I'm going to accept a parameter. I'll say job like so, and let me paste this thing over here. So we don't need the for loop coming in over here. Okay, we are passing this object as the parameter. So I'll just get rid of this. Okay, I'll even get rid of this here. Okay, and here instead of adding this to job with company DTOs, I'm simply going to return the job with company DTO like so. So whatever DTO object we have created is what we are returning, and we are not adding it to the list. Okay, now here we are getting an error for RestTemplate. Okay, so what we can do is we can move this particular object creation to this method here like so. Now what we need to do is we need to make use of this method here. So we can make use of this method with the help of a concept in Java called streams. Okay, so here instead of returning the list, what we can say is we can say jobs dot, and I can convert this to stream. So this jobs is nothing but the list of all the jobs that we are getting. Okay, so I'm converting this to stream. I'm saying dot map, and I'm mapping this function to every object of the job. Okay, so and then here I'm going to say collect, and I'm going to say collectors. Sorry, so it got auto populated collectors to list like so. So what are we doing over here is we are making use of Java streams. So this particular statement here, jobs.stream. So this stream method is called on the jobs list, and this method converts the list into a stream. Now what is a stream? So a stream is a sequence of elements that can be processed in a pipeline. Okay, then we are making use, or we are chaining a method called map over here, and this particular method is an operation. So map is an operation that is applied to the stream that we get over here in the previous step, and this particular method takes a function as an argument, and this applies the function to each element of the stream. So what do we have in the stream? We have the jobs object. So if there are 10 jobs in our application, we will have 10 job objects within the stream. And we are applying this particular function with the help of map to every object in job. Okay. So now this mapping function will convert. So this function is being called for every job object, and we have this definition over here. And for every job object, we get the response that is then collected over here. Okay. So with the help of this, so this is an operation, collect operation, and it is used to collect the elements of the stream into a new collection. Okay. And here with the help of collectors.toList, I'm using this particular method here, and this collects into list implementation. Okay. So with the help of this, I'm specifying that I want the output to be collected into the list implementation of the collection. Okay. And then this is returned as the result, as you can see over here. So with the help of this, we are able to obtain the list of job with company DTO, and this objects represent the jobs along with the associated companies for us. Okay. So let me rerun this again and let us see whether this worked perfectly fine. So this is just another way of doing the same thing, and we did this with the help of streams concept, and we have even modularized the code. So we have separated the repeated task into a method, and a code is considerably reduced and looks simpler. So now since our microservice is up and running, let us head over to PostMan. Now here we won't have any jobs. So let us add a couple of jobs. So I'll add one job, and I'll change this to 1, and I'll add another job. Now if you try to get the jobs here, you will see similar result. So the output has not changed, and this is working absolutely fine as expected. So yeah, we have tested the DTO pattern successfully, and it is helping us communicate and have a better control on the response that we are showing to our users or consumers who will be using the API eventually.